Just as the India story did not begin on 26th May 2014, as Mr. Narendra Modi would like us to believe, financial inclusion did not begin with the Dhan Yojana. It was the UPA government that sowed the idea of financial inclusion. The RBI introduced the Basic Savings Bank Deposit Account, BSBDA. It was also called the No Frills Account or Zero Balance Account. Until May 2014, 25 crore BSBD accounts had been opened, and the average citizen began to enjoy the advantages of modern banking. Simultaneously, the Aadhaar program was rolled out, and 65 crore Aadhaar numbers were issued by May 2014. BSBDA and Aadhaar were historic achievements. They were possible because of the following steps taken earlier to build the financial infrastructure. 2008, National Payments Corporation of India was established. 2009, Universal Identification Authority of India, UIDI, was established. 2010, NPCI launched the Immediate Payment System. 2012, RBI notified the Basic Savings Bank Deposit Account. 2012, NPCI launched the RuPay card. Rural branches of banks were opened and rural banking correspondents were appointed. The following table compares the record of the UPA and the NDA government. Between 2010 to 14, under UPA, we opened 12,748 rural branches, 3,03,504 rural banking correspondents. The total was 3,16,252. In the 4-year period of NDA, they opened only 4,679 branches, roughly one-third, appointed 1,77,639 banking correspondents, and the total was 1,82,318. The numbers speak for themselves. Under the NDA, the BSBDA scheme was renamed the Dhan Yojana. Instead of pursuing genuine financial inclusion, the NDA government's aim appears to be to break records and grab headlines. When the NDA speaks of the Dhan accounts, it conveniently and deliberately ignores the 25 crore accounts created before 2014. I want to know why. The Dhan self-praise is an elaborate exercise in deception. By December 2016, 24% of the accounts were zero balance accounts. No data is available for the subsequent period. Of the remaining accounts, 15 to 20% have a balance only because bank managers were encouraged to deposit 1 rupee in the account. According to a Ministry of Finance answer, 6.1 crore Dhan accounts, or 1 out of 5, are inactive. According to the World Bank's Global Findex Database 2017, as many as 48% of bank accounts in India are inactive, twice the average of 25% for developing economies. Also, 33% of accounts were opened by persons who already had an account in their names. Despite the boast of Dhan, the credit deposit ratio of the rural population that had reached 67 in March 2014 has declined to 60 in March 2017. The increase in the number of accounts has not translated into greater flow of credit to the rural population. It is now common knowledge that the Dhan accounts were used to launder money after demonetization. A humongous sum of 42,187 crore rupees was deposited in Dhan accounts between 8th November 2016 and 30th December 2016. Initially, the finance minister threatened legal action. Please check his statement of 12th November. But the finance secretary ruled out any investigation on the grounds it would be a time-consuming process. United Bank of India alone had 11,80,000 so-called Jan Dhan accounts with over rupees 1 lakh so-called savings. Jan Dhan accounts are permitted only 4 withdrawals a month, with the 5th withdrawal inviting a penalty. Hitting below the belt of the account holder, banks have, without the consent of the account holder, converted Jan Dhan accounts into regular savings account and are charging exorbitant fees for any failure to maintain a minimum balance. The government has stocked up the life and accident insurance benefits available with a Jan Dhan account, but failed to mention that rupees 30,000 life insurance feature applies only to those who opened a Jan Dhan account between 15th August 2014 and 31st January 2015, a window of about 6 months. This incentive was introduced only to generate record account openings rather than offering a real benefit. Government has failed to disclose how many account holders have got the insurance after an accident or death. Many hapless persons were exploited. Opening a Jan Dhan account was supposed to be free of cost, but 1 in 5 persons had to pay a middleman to open one, according to a September 2017 World Bank research paper. Of those who opened an account, 53% were required to pay a minimum deposit, even though no minimum deposit has been stipulated. Dhan Yojana is another jumla and an exercise in mass deception by Prime Minister Modi and the NDA government. The funds were supposed to be cost-free for struggling banks, but they are required to bear the cost of the accounts. SBI alone has spent 775 crore rupees as on 31st December 2016 for maintaining the accounts. In any event, there are no comparable benefits to the customer. The Hindi version will be available to you. Yes. Are there any questions? Oh, we can give you the source. These are all, we have given the date, we have given the author, and if you want the source, I'll be very happy to provide the source. But if you go to the Google, you will get the document itself. Yes. But I can vouchsafe for the source.
Most of the figures are there in the public domain already, sir.
Yes. Yes. No, let's finish with Jan Dhan first.
So you were indicating the unaccounted money of demonetization is part
Yes.
in Jan Dhan Yojana.
Yes. I said 42,187 crore rupees were deposited in Jan Dhan accounts between 8th November and 30th December in a period of about 51 days. The finance minister on 12th November, go back and read the newspapers, he said, we will take action. But then the finance secretary then ruled it out, saying it's a time-consuming process. So what happens to this 42,187? Is none of them a money laundering case?
So is there a breakup of the number of accounts?
Number of accounts in which? Well, I can give you, there is a breakup. United Bank of India alone had 11,80,000 accounts with 1 lakh deposits. I said 42,187 crore. Well, average we'll have to get the accounts and divide it. But it's alarming that in a period of 51 days, in Jan Dhan accounts, you will have 42,187 crore deposited.
Minister has told people that you deposit amount in the Dhan Yojana and you will ensure that that amount belongs to you.
Well, if I deposit my money, I suppose it belongs to me. I hope they're not taking away that money like they're trying to take away money from RBI. No. Direct benefit transfer is through any bank account. It's not necessarily Jan Dhan account. Anyone who's a bank account, any bank account, savings account, current deposit, current account, that is good enough. And we had opened BSBDA accounts 25 crore. That is over and above the Jan Dhan. So any bank account, you can do the DBT. So Jan Dhan was not meant for DBT. Jan Dhan was meant for attracting new account holders who did not have an account. It is no different from the accounts that were opened prior to May 2014. We called it no frills account, zero balance account. They called it Jan Dhan. I have no complaint on that. But the kind of boast, self-boast you are making on Jan Dhan, I'm trying to show these boasts have no truth at all.
But ultimately it was UPS project. Name change, but
Yes, that's what I'm argued here. We had opened 25 crore account. You came and changed the name, and you continued the program. We didn't make these boasts. They should not make these boasts. No, if you find that 33% of accounts were opened by persons who already had an account, how is it called a Jan Dhan account? 33% of accounts were opened by people who already had some kind of a bank account. So why do you call it a Jan Dhan account? Let's finish this.
so what is the future course of action on this Jan Dhan?
Well, first is to stop boasting. And second is to treat it as any account opened by a poor person to preserve his savings, and to count the 25 crore account opened prior to May 2014 and these accounts together. Not to ignore the 25 crore accounts. And finally, the most important thing is paragraph 9, which I have said, not to hit below the belt of the account holder. 4 withdrawals are allowed. For the 5th withdrawal, there is a penalty. Why? And without the consent of the owner, you're converting it into a regular savings account and saying if you don't maintain a minimum balance, I will deduct a certain amount. In fact, a large number of people have lost money because they can't maintain a minimum balance.
But since you are saying that the certain percentage of people have Jan Dhan account which has a zero balance and a 1 rupee balance, from where they will deduct the money?
No, not in those cases, they can't deduct money. But they have a minimum balance. Not in Jan Dhan, there's a minimum balance in the regular savings account. How can you convert a Jan Dhan account into a regular savings account without the consent of the account holder and then start deducting? So I think this was a good idea started by UPA, but now the idea has become completely distorted. It's only for propaganda purposes. There are serious defects here and they must be rectified and treated as regular basic accounts. We will, if somebody is willing to answer our questions. Yes, any other question on Jan Dhan? Okay. Now, it's not a wide-ranging press conference. You hint the subject you want and I may or may not answer.
सरदार पटेल की मूर्ति का मेंटेनेंस के लिए काफी खर्चा आने वाला है, ऐसा कहते हैं, और जो अभी खर्चा है उससे रिकवर करने के लिए काफी लंबा समय लग जाएगा। तो लगता है कि पैसा
money spent on the statue maintenance recovery.
See, we are proud that Sardar Patel has been honored by erecting a statue. Sardar Patel was a lifelong congressman, a lieutenant of Mahatma Gandhi, a close associate of Jawaharlal Nehru. Just look at the 2 letters exchanged between Jawaharlal Nehru and Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. within 5 days of Mahatma Gandhi's assassination. The two letters will show how close they were and what great affection they had for each other. So as a Congress party, as a congressman, we are very proud that a congressman has been commemorated. Yes, money has been spent, but a statue of this kind will cost that kind of money. Some people have pointed out that this money could have been utilized for other purposes. That's a point of view. I am not commenting on that point of view.
Let just someone ISL ask.
I have a question over here, sir. The government is hinting at bringing the ordinance for Ram Mandir while the matter is still sub judice. There are leaders who said that they will bring private members' bill, both in the Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha. What do you think will be the fate of these bills?
The government is letting its followers test the water. They are floating all these balloons to see what the public reaction is. When the matter is pending before the Supreme Court as a regular appeal against the Allahabad High Court judgment, in my view, to bring an ordinance would be unconstitutional. So let's see whether the government recognizes the constitutional position or it will indulge in an adventurous action. An ordinance, when the appeal is pending, will be an adventurous action. It will be unconstitutional.
Sir, some reflections on Pujil Patel's. There was big rumors yesterday in the market that he was going to resign. Do you think that he's ready that way?
I don't know. But I think what the Swadeshi Jagran Manch said, either you fall in line or resign, it is the same language they use for Dr. Raghuram Rajan. I think they are publicly humiliating the Reserve Bank governor, not government directly, but through their supporters, and I think that is completely unacceptable. Well, I think they are completely misreading Section 7. The power of Section 7 lies in its non-use. That's the power of Section 7. You have it, but you don't use it. You enter into a dialogue with the governor and resolve issues. If they have written letters specifically referring to Section 7, as many newspapers have reported today, they say at least 2 or 3 letters specifically refer to Section 7. I think that is a very bad move.
But sir, do you feel that the Section 7 should be deleted from the...
No. Section 7 should remain there. It has never been used since 1934. And the power of that section lies in its non-use.
Chidambaram, how tenable are the demands that the finance ministry is making of the RBI?
I don't know what the demands are. I can only go by what newspapers say. There is always merit in both arguments. There's always some merit in this argument, some merit in that argument. If one argument alone was meritorious and the other argument was unmeritorious, it's very easy to draw a conclusion. There is always some merit in what the RBI says. There is always some merit in what the government says. Now, the way to resolve it is the way it is resolved all over the world. The way it was resolved in the past in India, for the finance minister and the governor to sit privately and talk matters over and come to a conclusion. You may not come to the ideal conclusion, but even if you come to 2 or 3 steps of agreement, you implement them and then look at the 4th step and the 5th step later. I don't think these arguments are won or lost by delivering public lectures.
Mr. Chidambaram, do you think the RBI also is responsible for this sorry state of affairs because it did not stand up to the government pressures during demonetization?
I have already said so many times, RBI should have stood up to the demonetization idea, should have rejected it outright. I think some of the damage that was done to the RBI was done by demonetization.
आपने कहा कि ऑर्डिनेंस राम मंदिर को लेकर लाना अनकॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल है, लेकिन जिस तरीके से बीजेपी के एक एमपी हैं वो कह रहे हैं मैं प्राइवेट मेंबर बिल लेके आऊंगा, तो इस तरीके से बिल लाना संसद में क्या ठीक है?
I said my view. I'm not a court of law. It's my view. In my view, an ordinance would be unconstitutional. A bill would also be unconstitutional. You cannot pass a bill setting aside a judgment of a high court when the matter is pending in the Supreme Court. That's my understanding of law. I may be right, I may be wrong. Yes.
Our section has been invoked, the government has been unduly harsh with RBI. So in this light, I actually wanted to know that do you have an apprehension that something big, a bigger crisis is actually being attempted to bring it?
But what kind of crisis are you hinting at?
Some economic crisis as we approach the anniversary of the demonetization.
I think we are already in a state of near crisis. Read my column last Sunday in the Indian Express and 8 other papers. I've hinted at several economic parameters which are pointed downward. The economy is in a crisis. And the government itself seems to acknowledge that there is an NBFC crisis. There is a small and medium enterprises crisis. There is a liquidity crisis. There's an NPA crisis. The government itself seems to be hinting at all these crises. I suspect they also have a fiscal deficit crisis. They have a current account deficit crisis. I have not read the report completely, but it's patterned on the report of last year. It is based on 10 parameters studied in only 2 cities, Mumbai and Delhi. But that can only lead to a ease of doing business in Mumbai and ease of doing business in Delhi. You can't generalize for Gorakhpur and Karaikudi and Visakhapatnam. Secondly, the study is about private limited companies alone. Only private limited companies have been surveyed. There is no attempt to survey proprietorships, partnerships, association of persons. Most business in India is not carried out by private limited companies. Be that as it may, we take the study for its limited utility, and given its limited utility, I'm happy that things have improved in a few parameters. Why should I be unhappy? I'm happy that things have improved in a few parameters, but please understand there's a limited study of private limited companies in 2 cities, and let's take it with that caveat.
So, sir, do you think that it will help to attract the FDI?
Well, I don't know. I don't know. FDI this year has been pretty low. Last year was equally low. FPI, up to the end of October, they've already pulled out about 90,000 crore rupees. 90,000 crore rupees has been pulled out up to October. So I don't think one study will decide whether FDI will come in or not. The guys who bring money are sharp guys. They're not going to look at one study of private limited companies in 2 cities and then say, ease of doing business in Gorakhpur, ease of doing business in Bhubaneswar. But for what it's worth, with its limited utility, we accept it.
With
Yes.
permission, can I ask Professor Garlap to
No, no.
repeat in
No, no, not necessary. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.